I saw your husband kissing some woman in his car. That's what blew my marriage up. One sentence. From the wrong guy. And my wife believed him. A year ago, if you told me I'd be divorced at 36, I would have laughed in your face. I was married to Rachel Smart. Funny. The type of woman who'd binge Succession with me while crushing tacos. Then quote Kendall Roy during arguments. We'd been together 6 years, married for 2. We met through mutual friends during the whole startup scene here in Chicago. I run a logistics tech company. It's not sexy, but it pays well, and I love the grind. Rachel's a graphic designer, super creative, super loyal, or so I thought. Now enter Connor. Connor was my business partner and, once upon a time, one of my closest friends. We met in grad school and started the company together. At first, we clicked. He was great at pitching. I handled the back end. But over time, I started noticing how he liked control meetings he'd dominate. Clients he'd casually gaslight into signing early. Red flags, I ignored them. My bad. Rachel loved Connor, thought he was hilarious. He's so intense in meetings, but weirdly chill outside. She said once, yeah, intensely fake, but whatever. I let it go. I figured, keep work and personal life separate. Spoiler alert, you can't. 1 year ago, red flag hash 1. We were in the middle of scaling the business, hiring like crazy. I was pulling 14-hour days, skipping dinners, skipping gym, skipping everything. Rachel was supportive, at least at first. She brought me food, left sticky notes on my desk with dumb jokes, even left a hot coffee on my car hood one morning before I left for a 6 a.m. warehouse audit. But then Connor started showing up more, not just at work at our place. He'd randomly text Rachel if I didn't pick up, hey, is Logan around, or just checking if you guys are still coming Saturday. Harmless. I thought friendly until it started getting weird. One night, Rachel told me Connor said I was emotionally closed off lately. I was like, wait, he said that to you about me. She shrugged. He's just worried, that's all. UTF, since when did he become our therapist? 6 months ago, the therapy becomes manipulation. We had dinner with friends. Connor showed up, sat next to Rachel the entire night, and barely made eye contact with me. No biggie, I figured he was moody. But a week later, Rachel confronted me. Are you seeing someone? I literally spit my coffee. Excuse me. She looked dead serious. Connor said he saw you in your car with a woman? I laughed. Laughed for real. You mean the barista I gave a ride home because it was raining? I didn't even touch her. Rachel didn't laugh. He said you were kissing. I went still. Rachel, are you serious right now? You believe Connor? She didn't answer. Right then, something cracked. Not just in our marriage, in me. This woman, my wife, was ready to believe a third-party rumor with zero proof over her own husband. The fallout started quietly. Things spiraled fast. Rachel got distant. She started sleeping in the guest room. She told her sister, then her mom. Soon, my inbox was filled with passive-aggressive messages like, hey, maybe take some space to figure things out. Figure what out? A kiss that never happened. Connor, meanwhile, was acting like Gandhi, checking in on Rachel, sending her articles about emotional betrayal and micro-infidelities. Manipulative crap. I confronted him, said, what the hell, man? He didn't flinch. I saw what I saw. You sure you remember that night, right? I was this close to punching him, but I didn't, because by then I knew he was playing a long game, and I was done being passive. Present day, well, last week we finalized the divorce. Rachel got the condo. I kept the company, or at least I thought I did. Because 2 days after the papers were signed, I got a legal letter Connor was making a move to oust me. Said I was emotionally unstable and misusing company funds. I stared at the envelope for a full minute before laughing out loud. This dude sabotaged my marriage and now wanted to take my company. That's when the rage turned into strategy, and that's the part nobody saw coming. Not Connor, not Rachel, and certainly not me. because until that moment, I hadn't realized how dangerous I could be when I stopped trying to be the bigger person. Last weekend, I called up my lawyer, not to cry, not to ask for advice. I just needed to know what I was legally allowed to do. Within boundaries. Logan, he said, don't make this worse. I wasn't going to torch the company or set anyone's car on fire. Please. This wasn't a Netflix drama. I just wanted to win. Clean, sharp, and surgical. Let them choke on their own bullshit. But before any of that, I needed information. So I started looking back emails, Slack messages, meeting transcripts, anything that hinted Connor had been scheming before Rachel left. Took screenshots, forwarded key threads to my personal email, created folders with labels like Connor, Shady AF, and Rachel BS timeline. I remembered this convo he had with our finance lead 2 months ago. Back then, I thought nothing of it. He told her I'd been disengaged lately, and maybe we should shift financial control to him for now. Yeah, for now, right. Turns out, the sneaky bastard had slowly moved operational authority under his own name while I was too busy crying into protein bars and trying to save a marriage that was already dead. But the final straw. Our intern Emily texted me out of the blue. Hey, not sure if this is my place, but Connor asked me to pull your personal reimbursements from Q1 and send them to Rachel. I felt weird about it. I blinked at that message for a long time. He sent my business receipts to my ex-wife. Just let that sink in. Guy really tried to build a case against me by showing her I expensed hotel rooms, like she didn't know I travel twice a month for vendor meetings. He weaponized receipts. Nah, screw that. I wasn't just pissed anymore. I was locked in. First thing Monday, I called up Brian, my friend, who used to be head of IT before we got bought out. He still had admin access to some of our legacy systems, and bless him, he always liked me more than Connor. Can you check email logs from the last 3 months, especially anything sent to personal accounts? He didn't even ask why. Give me 2 days. Those 2 days were long. I pretended to work, took client calls, smiled, even nodded through a strategy session where Connor acted like he invented Post-its. Meanwhile, I couldn't stop replaying old conversations in my head. Like that one night Rachel got home super late and said she was catching up with friends. And I believed her. God, I was stupid. I'd been defending her to myself while she let Connor feed her lies. And the worst part, she never asked me once. Not seriously, not with trust. Not a, hey, Logan, tell me what really happened. Just accusations. Then silence. It's wild how fast love turns into suspicion when people want a reason to leave. Brian came through. He sent me a Google Drive link with a bunch of exports. Not just messages Connor sent to Rachel, but DMs between him and a guy named Tyler, an ex-sales rep, who left 2 months ago after a weird exit. Turns out Connor had been feeding Tyler inside info documents, client pricing, even roadmap leaks. Tyler was now consulting for a competitor. And guess who vouched for him? Connor. So not only did this jackass try to break my marriage, he also jeopardized our company's security and IP. For what? Leverage, revenge, ego. I felt sick. But at the same time, I felt something else. Calm. Because now I had everything. Screenshots, logs, timeline, witnesses, motive. I printed the worst messages out, some from Slack, some from Rachel's forwarded emails, bound them into a manila folder labeled insurance. Petty maybe. But you have no idea how satisfying it was to hear the slap of that folder when I dropped it on my lawyer's desk. This is what he's been doing. I said, my lawyer just shook his head. Jesus Christ, Logan! I smiled. By Thursday, I was ready. We had a board meeting that afternoon, quarterly review. Normally chill. This time it was going to be a stage. Connor rolled in with his smug grin and Patagonia vest. Had a clicker in hand. I let him go through his usual buzzword salad synergy, optimization, cross-functional collaboration, blah blah. When it was my turn, I stood up, plugged in my laptop, and clicked into a Google Slides deck titled Breach of trust, timeline, and evidence. He blinked. The first slide, a Slack message where he told Tyler to get ready to poach a few clients once Logan's out. The second slide, the email he sent Rachel where he claimed I was emotionally abusive and probably cheating. The third, Emily's statement, with her name redacted. I looked around the room. Every board member was dead silent. I've spent 6 years building this company, I said, and in the last 3 months, Connor has not only attempted to undermine me professionally, he's also interfered with my personal life in a way that's both unethical and, frankly, disgusting. Someone coughed. Another guy said, "We'll need to review this." I nodded. "Take your time. I've got copies for everyone." I handed out folders like Oprah giving away cars. Inside every message, every file. Even a signed note from our lawyer confirming Connor's breach of non-disclosure agreements. Connor didn't speak. He just sat there, face pale, eyes darting like he was searching for the fire escape, and the part that made me feel high. I didn't yell, didn't swear, didn't lose my cool. I was ice. After the meeting, he tried to corner me. "This is war now," he hissed. I stared at him. No. War would have been me posting this shit online. This is just accountability. He stepped back like I'd slapped him. Then I added, "And Rachel, she knows too. Don't worry." He went quiet. I guess he hadn't expected that. That night, Rachel called me. Of course she did. She said, "I didn't know. I swear. I thought he was just looking out for me." I didn't say anything for a beat. Then I said, "You didn't ask me. Rachel, you just assumed you let him tell you who I was." She cried. I didn't comfort her. Eventually she asked, "Can we talk? Just talk," I said. "About what? How you ghosted me while the guy who ruined us played shoulder to cry on." More crying, then silence. And I meant it when I said, "I don't hate you, but I'm done." I hung up. Then I walked outside, took a deep breath, and let the cold air hit me in the chest. That was the moment I felt something break loose inside me. Like I'd finally stopped trying to prove anything. I wasn't the villain. I wasn't the victim either. I was the guy who survived betrayal twice and walked away clean. Connor was about to lose his job. Rachel had already lost me, and all I lost was the illusion that either of them ever deserved my loyalty. It took the board less than a week to decide. On Wednesday, Connor was called into an emergency session. I didn't attend, didn't need to. I already knew what was going down. Word traveled fast anyway. Brian texted me 2 minutes after Connor left the building. "It's done. He's out." Looked like he'd seen a damn ghost. I just stared at that message for a second and let the words sink in. It's done. I wasn't even happy at first. You'd think I'd feel victorious. Right, nah. It felt more like a pressure valve finally hissing open after months of being clamped shut, like I could finally unclench my jaw. A couple of the board members reached out to me that afternoon. "You handled this with incredible restraint." One of them said, "Yeah, try insomnia, therapy, and crying in my car before meetings." But I didn't say that, I just nodded. Gave them my polite, moving forward corporate speak. Then got back to rebuilding the mess this asshole left behind. We had to go through client lists, security permissions, damage control with our dev team because Connor, being the petty piece of shit that he is, deleted shared project folders on his way out. Luckily, we had backups. But still, it was like cleaning up after a raccoon with admin privileges. At least he didn't take the plants. That Friday, Rachel texted again. This time, it was a long one, like walls of text. It started with, "I've been thinking a lot," and ended with, "I know now who he really was. And I hate that I couldn't see it." There were apologies, regrets, the whole "I miss what we had" song. She even said she wanted to grab coffee and talk like adults. For a second, I stared at the screen. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I almost typed something. Almost. But then I remembered something weird. It was last spring. We were in the middle of prepping a pitch for an international logistics partner, working 80-hour weeks. One night, I came home and found Rachel on the balcony with Connor, both laughing at something on her phone. They didn't see me right away. I remember standing in the doorway, exhausted, covered in street dust, just watching them for maybe 5 seconds before Rachel noticed me and smiled like nothing was off. Maybe nothing was off. Maybe it was harmless. But when I looked back now, I couldn't unsee the way Connor's body angled toward her, or how she never mentioned that moment again, or how she didn't rush to defend me when the cheating accusation hit. She folded like a lawn chair in a thunderstorm. So no, I didn't text back. I just hit archive. The fallout didn't stop with the firing. Connor had built his rep around being this startup whisperer, this polished thought leader with TED Talk energy and 1,000 LinkedIn connections. But once word started leaking, people started putting pieces together. Tyler, the guy Connor leaked info to, he got let go from that competing firm once they realized he had brought stolen data with him. Emily, our intern, ended up publishing a full Medium post, bless her Gen Z soul, about ethical abuse in startups. It didn't name Connor outright, but come on, anyone who knew the story could connect the dots. By Monday, Connor's name was low-key, blacklisted in 2 investor groups we'd both pitched to last year. And me, I wasn't rubbing it in. I didn't subtweet, didn't post anything cryptic. I just went quiet, like nuclear quiet. You know how sometimes the scariest moment isn't the scream, it's the silence that comes after. That's where I lived for a while. 2 weeks later, I got an invite to a mutual friend's birthday party, someone from Rachel's side of the friend circle. I almost didn't go. The last thing I wanted was small talk and forced smiles, but I showed up anyway. And yeah, she was there. She came in late, wearing the same jean jacket I bought her 2 birthdays ago. I saw her scan the room, and when her eyes landed on me, she froze, not in a dramatic movie way, just like a hiccup in her system. I gave her a nod. She nodded back. Later, she walked over. "You look good," she said. I shrugged. "I'm sleeping again." She gave a soft laugh, but her eyes didn't smile. We stood there awkwardly for a second before she said, "I really messed things up." I sipped my drink. Yeah, more silence. "I thought Connor was..." She started. Yeah, I cut in. A lot of people did. I wasn't trying to be cruel, but I wasn't handing out grace like coupons either. You get one chance to believe in me. She gave hers away without a fight. Eventually, she asked, "Would you ever think about trying again us? I mean..." I looked at her, and I saw all the old memories flood in dumb movie nights, long drives, her falling asleep on my shoulder during late flights. And I saw the newer memories too, cold shoulders, distant eyes, the disbelief in her voice when she confronted me. I smiled gently. "Rachel, I don't hate you, but I'm not the same guy you walked away from." She nodded slowly, like she already knew that answer was coming. And then she left. A few days later, someone DM'd me on Instagram. Her name was Ali, apparently. She'd worked with Connor years ago at another startup and saw my name in a tagged photo. Her message was short. "You don't know me, but I saw what went down. Just wanted to say you weren't crazy. He pulled similar shit with my old boss." We ended up chatting a bit. She was sharp, hilarious, and cursed like a sailor. The weirdest part? It was the first time I laughed, like really laughed, in months. We got coffee a few days later, then drinks, then more drinks. No, it's not some fairy tale rebound arc. I'm not suddenly in love and healed. But talking to someone who didn't know me through the lens of that mess was refreshing. Ali didn't care about Rachel or Connor or what the hell happened last quarter. She asked about my dog, my weird music taste, my favorite cheap pizza spot. I could breathe around her. No guilt, no suspicion, just space. I still see Rachel's name in my messages sometimes. Still get tagged in photos from old friends who haven't picked a side. That's fine. I don't need people to choose. I'm not on some revenge campaign. Honestly, I don't even think about Connor anymore. He made his mess. Now he's the one mopping it up jobless. Reputation wrecked, probably looking for someone else to blame. And Rachel, she'll heal. Maybe she'll look back and realize how easily she was manipulated. Or maybe she won't. Either way, it's not my burden. I gave her love. She gave me doubt. Now I give her nothing. One night, I was walking home and saw a couple arguing outside a bar. The woman looked like she was about to cry. The guy kept gesturing wildly, like it was her fault. I watched for a second, then kept walking. I used to be the guy trying to fix everything. Now, I just want peace. Not revenge, not closure. Just peace. And for the first time in forever, I think I've got it. ChatGPT said, the silence after all the chaos was weird at first. Like, I'd gotten so used to being in defense mode, checking texts, bracing for drama, waiting for the next bomb to drop that, when everything finally calmed down. I didn't know what to do with myself. For the first time in almost a year, I had no damage to control, no ex to respond to, no snake in a Patagonia vest plotting behind my back. Just quiet. I slept like a damn rock for a week straight. Woke up at 8 a.m. instead of 5:30. Actually made breakfast that didn't come out of a protein bar wrapper. Took my dog on longer walks. Even signed up for a climbing class just because I saw a flyer at the gym and thought, why not? My house, well, my condo now finally started to feel like it belonged to me. I rearranged the furniture, got rid of a bunch of joint stuff, donated that hideous metal sculpture Rachel insisted was industrial chic. Bought new towels that weren't beige, painted a wall black just because it looked cool. It felt like cleaning out a ghost, and that's when it hit me for so long. I'd been trying to save a version of my life that didn't even fit me anymore. The job, the marriage, the whole image I was clinging to a script someone else had written. Now I was starting to write my own. About a month after the Connor fallout, I got invited to speak at this small founder panel downtown. Nothing big, just a Kiwanda thing with local startup nerds. I almost said no. The thought of being back in that scene made my skin itch. But I went anyway. Figured I owed it to myself to stop hiding. The second I walked into the venue, I felt eyes on me. Not in a paranoid way, just that half-whisper buzz you recognize instantly when people know. A girl at the snack table said, "Aren't you the guy who got shafted by his co-founder?" And yeah, that would have ruined me 6 months ago. But now, I just smiled and said, he tried. The panel went well. I talked about ethics, resilience, the importance of building with people you actually trust, not just people who look good on pitch decks. No sob stories. No woe is me energy. Afterward, a few folks came up to say they appreciated the honesty. One guy even said, "I've got a Connor in my company right now. Your story gave me the nudge to actually deal with it." That hit different. I realized something important that day. My pain wasn't useless. The betrayal, the fallout, all of it. It wasn't just trauma. It was a blueprint, a warning, a story worth telling. And weirdly, that made it feel worth it. Around that time, Ali and I started seeing more of each other. Slowly. No labels, no pressure. She was a whirlwind, worked in creative tech, did illustrations for indie games, always had paint on her hands and 3 new opinions about society. We talked shit about dating apps, roasted bad menu designs at cafes, and spent a whole night building IKEA furniture while blasting 2000s emo like it was a church service. But she never pried. Never asked too many questions about Rachel or Connor. She let me show up as I was, not who I used to be. One night, we were at her place, watching reruns of some cursed baking show, and she casually asked, "You ever think you'd be here, like, 6 months ago?" I blinked. Honestly, I thought I'd be divorced, depressed, and half drunk on a lawn chair somewhere. She laughed. "Well, you're only hitting one of those." Yes, I was drinking. Yes, it was a lawn chair on her balcony. Shut up. Eventually, I started getting messages from old mutuals. Not the ride or dies, those stayed solid. But the ones who ghosted me right after the cheating rumor, you know the type. The we're staying neutral crowd who went suspiciously quiet the second things got messy. One of them, Dylan, sent me a whole ass email. Subject line, I owe you an apology. He talked about how he felt torn, didn't know what to believe, and thought Rachel seemed really certain. That last part made me laugh. Seemed really certain. Like certainty ever made something true. I didn't respond. Not because I'm bitter, just if someone can believe the worst about you without even checking in, let them stay gone. I didn't need half-hearted apologies now that I was on the upswing. That's not healing. That's convenience. What mattered more were the people who did stay. Brian, the IT guy who saved my ass. We started grabbing lunch once a week. He ended up investing in one of my side projects, a warehouse automation idea I'd shelved back when Connor told me it was too ambitious. Funny how fast ambition becomes possible once toxic voices get removed from the equation. Emily, the intern, she got a full-time offer with us. I made sure she was treated right, good pay, mentorship, flexibility, girl deserved it. We even added a new policy, no personal access to internal docs unless cleared by 2 managers. We call it the Connor Clause. Not officially, but you get it. Sometimes I still think about Rachel. Not in a longing way. More like when you drive past your old school and remember how it smelled in winter, or how the hallway lights flickered weird. She texted again recently. Said she was seeing a therapist, working through things. Asked if I'd ever want to just catch up. I stared at the screen for a while. She didn't lie about cheating on me. She didn't scream or break plates or disappear for days. Her betrayal wasn't loud. It was quiet. It was letting someone else define me, letting me drown while she stood on the edge, too unsure to throw a rope. And then blaming me when I sank, so I didn't reply. I didn't block her either. She gets to sit with that silence now, just like I did. You know what the weirdest part of all this is? I'm grateful it happened. I don't mean that in some fake spiritual way. I don't wake up thanking the universe for my suffering. But I do look at my life now, and I see how clean it feels. No lies. No snakes. No versions of me trying to bend backward to make everyone else comfortable. Just me. Figuring it out. Liking myself more each day. Living in a home I built, running a business I control. Waking up next to someone who sees me exactly as I am and doesn't flinch. I used to think revenge was about proving people wrong. Now I think it's about making yourself so damn solid, they don't matter anymore. And that's the best kind of payback. ChatGPT said Ali got this gig in Seattle. Contract design work for a gaming startup. 6 months. Remote optional. But they wanted her in town sometimes for art sprints and collaboration crap. She told me over coffee, kinda nervous. I'm not asking permission. She said, I want to know if you'll be weird about it. I wasn't. Go, I said, it's your thing. Crush it. She smiled, relieved. We didn't do that clingy, codependent shit. If anything, this was what I respected about us the most. We didn't chain each other down. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't hit a little. After she left, the house felt still. Not lonely, just still. She left her hoodie on the chair, the one that smelled like her shampoo. And the weird orange mug she insisted made tea taste better. I kept finding those little fingerprints of her everywhere. I wasn't falling apart, just noticing. And maybe that's what growth is. You feel things, but they don't break you anymore. About 2 weeks after Ali flew out, I got an invite to this networking dinner. Mostly founders, tech folk, some investors I'd met once or twice. Normally I'd dodge that kind of thing like it was contagious. But something in me said, go. Not for connections. Just to see who I was in that room now. The me post-chaos. No Connor shadow. No Rachel trauma. Just Logan, the guy who survived the shitstorm and was still standing. The dinner was fancy name tags. Wine you're supposed to swirl. Waiters who judged you for asking for Coke. I was nursing a bourbon when I heard it. That voice. Familiar, fake friendly. I'm just saying, sometimes people blow things way out of proportion. One bad decision, and suddenly you're a pariah. I turned my head. It was Connor. Of course it was. Talking to two VCs like he wasn't radioactive, dressed sharp, hair slicked, that same fake humility plastered all over his face like a Halloween mask. He saw me, paused for half a second, then gave me that smirk, that we both know what happened, but I'm gonna act chill smirk. I didn't return it. I just kept sipping. He walked over eventually, hands in his pockets. Logan. He said like we were old pals. Didn't expect to see you here. Yeah, I said. Neither did I. He chuckled. No hard feelings. Right water under the bridge and all that. I looked at him. This guy who threw a grenade into my life, smiled while it blew up, and now wanted to pretend it was all just business. So I leaned in a little and said, quietly but very clearly, "You're lucky I didn't press charges." He froze. And I swear to God, for just a second, the mask cracked. He tried to laugh it off, said something about moving forward and then bailed back to his little pity circle. But the VCs, one of them came up to me after and said, "That the guy who got canned for insider leaks?" I just raised an eyebrow. Let the silence say the rest. It's wild how people try to outrun their own messes, but the world's smaller than it feels. Eventually, the truth catches up, and sometimes you don't have to do a damn thing. You just have to stay standing. Around this time, I went on this impromptu road trip. No plan, just me, my dog, and some gas station playlists. I drove through Utah, hit a couple national parks, slept in cheap motels or sometimes just the back of the car. No emails, no calls. I watched sunsets without thinking about who I needed to be. It was the first time in years I felt totally unhooked from obligation. Somewhere outside Zion, I stopped at this diner. It was quiet, almost empty. Just me, a waitress who looked like she'd seen some shit, and an older couple eating pie. The waitress refilled my coffee and asked, "You heading somewhere or running from it?" I grinned. Bit of both. She nodded like she understood exactly what I meant. When I got back home, Ali was back in town for a week. We met up, had dinner, just like old times. But something had shifted. Not in a bad way, just different. We both felt it. Maybe the distance had given us perspective. Maybe we were always more right now than forever. We didn't cry or argue, just sat on the curb after dinner and talked real. "I think I needed you," I said. She smiled. "And I think I needed you." That was it. She left the next morning. We still text sometimes. No drama, no unfinished business. Just two people who were good for each other when it mattered. That's rare. I'll always be grateful for her. Later that month, I got a call from Marissa. Yeah, that Marissa, the one who exposed Stacy's lie way back when. She said she was organizing a little get-together. Just some old mutuals. Nothing crazy. Wanted to know if I'd come. I hesitated. Then she said, "Rachel might be there, just giving you a heads up." My gut twisted a little. Not in fear, just anticipation. I said yes. Not for her. For me. I wanted to see if I could stand in a room with all the echoes and not flinch. The night of the get-together, I showed up in jeans and a flannel, carrying a six-pack. Nothing flashy, but just me. Rachel was already there. I saw her before she saw me. She looked older, tired in the eyes, but still pretty in that familiar way that sneaks up on you. She froze when she noticed me, then walked over. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey." "I wasn't sure you'd come. Didn't think I would," I admitted. We stood there for a second, awkward but civil. Then she said, "I'm glad you're doing okay. You look peaceful." I nodded. "I am." She looked down. "I'm sorry, again, I know I said it before, but I still mean it. I know, I said, and I did." I believed her, but I also didn't need anything else from her. Not closure, not apologies, not a redo. She wasn't the villain. She just didn't believe in me when it counted. And I'd learned how to live with that. I hope you're okay too, I said. Genuinely? She smiled, watery-eyed, trying. Then she walked away, and I didn't look back. There's a weird kind of peace in knowing your story doesn't belong to someone else's judgment anymore. I used to think everything had to end with justice. A big confrontation, a clear win. Now I think the best revenge is walking away with your dignity intact, your head clear, and your heart still open. Not to them, to yourself. These days, life's simple. I wake up, work out, run my business, make time for people who matter, eat messy burgers, watch stupid action movies, occasionally flirt with the barista who draws little stars on my coffee lid. I don't have to explain myself anymore. Not to Connor, not to Rachel, not to anyone who disappeared when things got hard. If they see me now, they'll either feel regret or irrelevance. I'm fine with either, because I'm finally living a life that fits me. No edits, no compromises, just real, quiet, honest peace. And that's better than any comeback story I could have planned.